Listen to the Psalm of Moses if you need direction. There are moments when your soul stands still, not because you've reached peace, but because you've lost your sense of direction. You look around and everything feels like a wilderness. You pray, yet the silence of heaven stretches long. You move, but every step feels like a circle. And in that place of confusion, one question begins to echo louder than all others. God, where do I go from here? That's where Moses once stood, not on a mountain surrounded by glory, but in the desert, surrounded by uncertainty. He had seen miracles, he had heard God's voice, but even prophets get lost when the cloud doesn't move. It was in that stillness that Moses prayed the words of the psalm that bears his name, Psalm 90. A prayer not of triumph, but of direction. A cry that begins not with answers, but with awe. Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. That was the secret Moses discovered. When you can't find your way, you return to his presence, because his presence is the way. Direction doesn't always come as a map. Sometimes it comes as a reminder that the one who walks beside you knows the road ahead. This video is not just about a psalm, it's about learning to listen again. Because if you can hear God in the silence, you can follow him through the storm. As you walk through this message, don't rush. Let each word draw you closer to the still, small voice that never stopped speaking. You're about to discover that God's direction isn't found in the absence of confusion. It's found in the middle of it. And like Moses, you'll realize that the path forward doesn't begin with movement. It begins with surrender. When you don't know where to go, God is still moving. There are seasons when you feel like you've done everything right, prayed, waited, obeyed, and still nothing changes. It's like walking in circles in a desert that never ends. You keep asking, God, are you still there? But the truth is, even when you don't see movement around you, God is still moving within you. Moses knew that kind of silence. After leaving Egypt, he found himself leading thousands into emptiness, a wilderness without signs, without clarity, without visible progress. The people grew restless, but Moses stayed still. Why? Because he had learned something deeper. God's direction is not always seen in the distance. Sometimes it's felt in the delay. When you can't trace God's hand, you learn to trust his heart. Psalm 90 begins with a truth meant to anchor lost souls. Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. That wasn't a statement of arrival. It was a confession of faith. Moses was saying, even if I don't know where I'm going, I know who's leading me. You may feel stuck right now, but heaven is not silent. God doesn't stop guiding because you can't see the path. In fact, that's when his guidance is most active. The cloud may not move for a day or a year, but that doesn't mean the journey is over. It means he's teaching you to walk by trust, not by sight. The same God who parted the sea can guide you through stillness. His direction doesn't depend on movement, it depends on surrender. When you stop fighting to find the way, you begin to feel his whisper again. Because God doesn't always lead you to a place, sometimes he leads you to a posture. And that posture is trust, the desert between you and your destiny. Every promise from God passes through a desert. It is the place between what he said and what you see. A place where faith is stripped of comfort and obedience is tested in silence. For Moses, that desert wasn't just a location, it was a classroom. God led him there not to punish him, but to prepare him. In the desert, there are no distractions, no cities, no noise, no applause, just the sound of your own heartbeat and the echo of your doubts. And that's where God begins to speak, not through thunder, but through stillness. The wilderness exposes the voices you've been listening to so you can finally hear the only one that matters. Psalm 90 carries the weight of that revelation. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Moses wasn't asking for more time, he was asking for perspective. He had seen what happens when people wander without understanding. He knew that purpose without direction leads to exhaustion. So he prayed not for the end of the desert, but for wisdom to walk through it with meaning. Maybe that's where you are now, between where you were and where God is taking you. You can't go back, but you don't know how to go forward. The desert feels endless, yet in that very place, God is shaping you for what's next. The silence is not a sign of his absence, it's the sound of his precision. The desert between you and your destiny is not wasted ground. It's holy ground. Every unanswered prayer, every long night, every dry season is forming the strength you'll need when the promise comes. Don't despise the desert. It's where your faith grows up. It's where direction becomes devotion. When God's silence is not a rejection, but a redirection. There is a silence that feels heavy, like heaven has gone quiet on purpose. You pray, but the answers don't come. You wait, but nothing shifts. You look around, and all you see is stillness. That's when the enemy whispers, God has forgotten you. But the truth is, silence is often the sound of God working in ways you can't yet understand. Moses knew that silence well. There were days when God spoke through thunder and fire, and others when the only sound was the wind across the sand. But even then, Moses never mistook God's silence for his absence. He understood that direction doesn't always begin with a voice. It begins with trust. When God is silent, he's not rejecting you, he's redirecting you. Sometimes he withholds clarity because he's realigning your heart. Sometimes he delays the answer because he's deepening your dependence. The silence of God is not punishment, it's preparation. Psalm 90 reflects this posture of surrender. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Moses wrote those words as a declaration of confidence, not confusion. He was saying, even when I don't hear you, I know you are eternal. You have not changed. If you're in that season of silence now, hold on. God is not ignoring you, he's inviting you closer. The noise has been stripped away, so you can recognize his whisper when it comes. His silence is not the end of the story, it's the moment before revelation. Sometimes, the reason you can't hear him is because he's already moved in front of you, guiding by presence rather than words. And if you follow the peace, you'll find the path. When your strength fails, but his direction remains. There comes a point in every believer's journey when strength runs out. You've done all you can. You've prayed, believed and obeyed, but now you feel empty, too tired to fight, too weary to hope. Moses knew that feeling. Leading a nation through the wilderness was not just a physical challenge, it was an emotional weight that pressed on his soul. At one point, even Moses cried out, Lord, if your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. That prayer was not a complaint, it was a confession. Moses was saying, I can't do this without you. And that's the moment every follower of God must reach, because divine direction is not sustained by human effort, it's sustained by surrender. Psalm 90 captures this heart cry perfectly. Satisfy us in the morning with your unfailing love, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Moses was not asking for success, he was asking for sustenance. He understood that strength fades, but love endures. Plans fail, but presence never does. When your strength fails, it doesn't mean your journey is over. It means it's time for God to carry you the rest of the way. The desert was never meant to be crossed by human power. It was meant to reveal divine dependence. So when you find yourself at the edge of exhaustion, stop trying to prove your faith. Instead, rest in it. God's direction does not require your perfection. It requires your trust. The moment you surrender your strength is the moment his begins to flow. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stay close enough to hear him say, keep walking. I'm still with you. The cloud still moves, even when you can't see it. One of the most profound truths Moses learned in the wilderness was that God's guidance is not always visible. The Israelites followed a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, but there were days when the sky seemed still, days when the cloud didn't move, days when it felt like nothing was happening. And yet in the unseen realm, God was still leading them. That is how divine direction often works. You look up and see nothing new, yet heaven is rearranging everything around you. You don't feel movement, but destiny is still unfolding. God's silence never means he has stopped working. It only means his work has moved beyond your sight. The Psalm of Moses gives voice to that unseen faith. Let the favor of the Lord our God rest on us. Establish the work of our hands. Psalm 90:17. Notice the word rest. God's direction is not frantic, it's steady. It doesn't rush, it roots. It doesn't panic, it prepares. Maybe you've been looking for signs, an open door, a new opportunity, a visible change, and yet nothing appears to shift. But the truth is, the cloud is still moving. It may not move ahead of you. Sometimes it moves within you. God's greatest directions are internal long before they become external. So don't mistake stillness for stagnation. God often pauses you to prepare you. He slows the journey to strengthen the faith that carries it. The cloud that once led Moses through the desert still moves today. Not above you, but through your spirit. And when you stay sensitive to that presence, you'll realize that even when you can't see the way is still guiding you. When you feel lost, God is locating your heart. There's a kind of lostness that doesn't come from distance. It comes from disconnection. You can be surrounded by people, by blessings, by opportunities, and still feel like your soul is wandering. That's where Moses found himself, not lost in direction, but lost in heart. After years of leading, he realized that the greatest danger wasn't losing his way through the desert. It was losing his intimacy with God along the way. In Psalm 90, he prays something powerful, yet easily overlooked. Relent, Lord, how long will it be? Have compassion on your servants. Psalm 90:13. Those words reveal the ache of a man who no longer wanted just guidance. He wanted closeness. Moses was saying, don't just show me the way, show me your heart. Sometimes God allows you to feel lost so that you'll finally stop chasing the path and start seeking the presence. He lets your plans fall apart, not to punish you, but to reposition your soul toward him. Because divine direction is never about geography. It's about relationship. When you feel lost, it's not a sign that God has lost track of you. It's often the moment he's drawing you into alignment. The map may be blank, but his eyes are fixed on you. You are not off course. You are under correction. Moses learned that God's greatest guidance wasn't in pillars of fire or clouds of glory. It was in daily communion. It was in walking, listening, and trusting one step at a time. So if you feel like you've drifted, don't despair. God isn't trying to get you back on a road. He's trying to get you back into rhythm with his heart. Once he has your heart, direction will follow naturally. Because where his presence abides, confusion cannot stay. When God's delay is a detour toward destiny. The waiting season can feel like the hardest part of following God. You're not where you were, but you're not yet where you hope to be. It's the in-between, the desert of delay. For Moses, that delay lasted 40 years. A generation wandered. The promise seemed far away, and every sunrise reminded him of time slipping through his hands. But what felt like a detour was actually divine direction. Delay is not denial, it's development. God was not withholding the promise. He was shaping a people capable of carrying it. Every delay that frustrates you may be forming something inside you that speed never could. Patience, discernment, resilience, humility. Psalm 90 reflects this awareness. Make us glad for as many days as you have afflicted us, for as many years as we have seen trouble. Psalm 90:15. That isn't a cry for escape. It's a prayer for redemption. Moses was asking God to make the waiting meaningful, to transform wasted years into worship. In your life, what you call delay may be God's way of aligning time with purpose. Sometimes he slows you down because he's moving something ahead that you can't yet see. Other times, he pauses you because your spirit needs to mature before the promise arrives. The wilderness was never wasted for Moses. It was the forge where faith was refined. If God seems late, it's because he's on eternal time, not human clocks. So when the path stretches longer than expected, stop asking why so long and start asking, what are you teaching me here? Every detour, every delay, every silent season is working toward destiny. What feels like wandering is often the most direct route to where God always meant you to be. The moment when obedience unlocks revelation. Obedience rarely feels glorious in the moment. It often feels costly, confusing, and lonely. But every act of obedience carries within it a hidden revelation, something that cannot be seen until you've stepped forward in faith. Moses learned this truth on sacred ground. When God called him from the burning bush, he didn't give explanations, only instructions. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. At that moment, Moses didn't yet understand the full mission, the miracles, or the magnitude of what was coming. But one simple act of obedience opened the door to everything that followed. The revelation of God's voice was waiting on the other side of surrender. Psalm 90 carries that same rhythm of humility. Establish the work of our hands, O Lord. Psalm 90:17. Moses was acknowledging that no plan, no purpose, no progress had value unless it flowed from obedience. Obedience became the soil in which revelation grew. You might be waiting for God to reveal the next step while he's waiting for you to act on the last one. Divine revelation is not given to the curious. It's given to the committed. When you choose obedience before understanding, you invite heaven to move on your behalf. Moses didn't need all the answers to begin. He needed only one thing: trust. The moment he said yes, even through fear, God began to reveal what was hidden. And the same will happen in your life. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, unlocks something sacred. You won't always see the miracle immediately, but you'll sense his nearness. Because revelation doesn't begin with knowledge, it begins with surrender. When you obey, heaven opens. And when heaven opens, direction becomes undeniable. When the path opens, only after you step in. There comes a moment when faith demands movement before clarity. That moment came for Moses at the edge of the Red Sea. Behind him roared Pharaoh's army. Before him stretched an endless wall of water. There was no visible path, no explanation, no safety net. Just a command from God. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea. This is where faith becomes more than belief. It becomes action. Moses didn't wait for the sea to part before obeying. He obeyed, and then the sea parted. The miracle did not precede the step. It followed it, and that's how divine direction often unfolds. You won't see the full path until you start walking. Psalm 90 gives language to that kind of trust. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Psalm 92. Moses had learned that if the God who formed mountains told him to step forward, then even the sea must yield to his voice. Maybe you're standing at your own Red Sea right now, a decision you can't make, a future you can't see, a fear you can't cross. You're waiting for confirmation, but God is waiting for your step. The miracle will not appear while you hesitate. It will meet you in motion. Faith is not seeing and then moving, it's moving and then seeing. God's direction unfolds like the dawn, one step, one ray, one revelation at a time. The sea only opened because Moses trusted a word that seemed impossible. So take that step. lift what's in your hand. Obedience will always create the opening that fear tries to hide. The path won't appear until your foot touches the water. And when it does, you'll realize it was never about the sea parting. It was about your heart opening. The prayer that leads you out of confusion. When the journey finally quieted and the waves of deliverance settled, Moses didn't celebrate his power. He prayed. He had seen seas divide and kingdoms crumble, yet his heart returned to one unchanging truth. Direction without presence is still wandering. That's why his words in Psalm 90 are not a victory song, but a compass for the lost. Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Psalm 91. That line reveals everything. Moses wasn't seeking a destination anymore. He had found his home in God. The same God who guided him through Pharaoh's palace and the wilderness was now his constant dwelling. Every command, every delay, every silence had been leading him not to a place, but to a presence. This is the prayer that leads you out of confusion. Not Lord, show me the way, but Lord, be my way. Direction is not something God gives apart from himself. His voice is the path. His presence is the map. When your plans collapse, when your faith feels uncertain, when the path disappears beneath your feet, pray like Moses. Don't beg for signs, ask for nearness, because when you dwell in him, every step becomes holy ground. God's direction isn't a set of coordinates, it's communion. You don't follow a route, you follow a voice, and that voice never leads you backward, it leads you home. So, if you're standing in confusion, let this be your prayer. Lord, you are my dwelling place. Where you are, I am safe. Where you go, I will follow. That's not the prayer of someone lost. It's the declaration of someone found. And when you speak it, heaven begins to move.